Welcome to Gray Overload. I'm Anthony, and what is Intel thinking? Intel now has this performance at Intel Medium blog that they keep updating and putting out new numbers and new articles on. And Ryan Strout has been part of that and putting out a few things. I've mentioned it before, but it's getting kind of interesting now. And Serve the Home put out an article because they did something with HPC leadership where it matters and reward performance. And we'll go over the article and maybe go check out like Serve the Home or even Charlie Denninger's article over at Semi Accurate. And the Serve the Home article was done by Patrick Kennedy. Excellent article. Go ahead and read both of those by at Serve the Home and Semi Accurate. They did an excellent job there. But I don't want to also go over that one a little bit, but also take a look at the core scaling and gaming performance, or just do a little bit of analysis on this because it seems like performance at Intel before you expect to be upfront and honest and not having 1,000 different little footnotes saying, hey, where are we going with this? And when I saw this blog go up, I mean, this is November 5th, but also the one on October 31st, I was like, I really want to, do something on this because it's not what Intel should be doing or any company should be doing and showing off their product or trying to show off their products. You really want the products to speak for themselves and your data just to enhance that. And right now it seems like the data is trying to speak for the processors and the processors aren't backing up that enhancement. And that's the opposite way. As a consumer, we should, or as a company too, like I want something that can perform, and what you're saying about your product is just icing the cake because I know it can do it. Whereas it seems like they're really trying to make sure they're selling these processors and their business, right? They want to sell them. But if we look here, and I just encourage you to go through the article, they go through a whole bunch of different benchmarks with the HPC workloads, and Serve the Home did an excellent job diving into it. I'm not going to even rehash that article. Or even that benchmark. That was just great. But if you look, they are competing against a AMD EPYC Rome 64 core, and feel free to go through all the little footnotes that they put in this. It's you know really interesting what they did, especially as Serve the Home things. Uh, went through it, they didn't really do anything wrong necessarily. I mean, legally, but I would say that they did something wrong by not putting. I personally, if I was working at Intel, I would try to put the best foot forward of both processors and see where everything lands. And if something doesn't line up, maybe we have to go back to the drawing board and create a better processor, right? And create a better product, create something better for the consumer rather than trying to foothold what you already have into it, right? The processor comparing to is a 400 watt versus a 250 watt, right? There's a huge power thing. And they're saying total cost of ownership is about the same with everything because the performance increase. Well, what happens if you have another optimization in a processor, another optimization in a piece of software that has a better performance, right? The whole thing about comparing the different processors with each other, Intel goes through and has all these footnotes and benchmarks there. Then they got the legal notices, and one thing that they had in the legal notice was performance results are based on testing of dates shown in the configuration may not reflect all publicly available security patches. No product or component can be absolutely secure. So where was that? Can make sure list that all out and tell. I understand no product can be perfectly secure or absolutely secure as you stated it, Intel, but I hope you're working really hard to make them as secure as possible. And goes back to another thing I think Intel needs to do is have more clarity on where they stand in security going forward. This is not coming from their CEO or anything else where we've seen him go out and put a stance out there on just security. I still think that needs to happen. Um, or I missed it because it wasn't a big enough central event on where he wants security to go. And also, as serve the home said and semi-accurate, you're going through all these little articles to go in. What were the differences? What were the softwares being used at each time? And if there was optimizations for a piece of software that came after Intel's using that piece of software, well, where was that Intel? And one of the things I like to see is that, I work in software development, right? We try to move our software up as things come out, if depending upon release cycles and everything else, so that we're having the latest optimizations, so we're having those things to make sure that the users of our products can extract the most amount of efficiency, productivity that we can offer. So why is Intel also not doing this, right? And this is all just on the server side. These server guys are going through, and my gut feeling on this is what is going on here is that Intel is just trying to stay relevant in the HPC, high performance computing, so that they have some place to go and they can have a stronghold on it. They're, I think that they've already seen the numbers going a different direction than what they want, and they came out with this to try to stem stuff off beforehand, and I didn't think they did themselves any help. It kind of was, when I was reading it, it was kind of cringe-worthy, and this would be the same with any company doing it. It was, ugh, it was really cringe-worthy. So we'll see what Intel does with this. I think they almost need to take this Medium blog, bury it, close it down, shut it down, get rid of it, and go in a different direction with this. I understand that Ryan Shrout was brought in for, what is it, like showing performance and stuff out of their processors, and this blog was kind of being their foot forward of being Intel being, forthright about what's actually happening and what performance we're actually seeing out of our processors. But ouch, Intel, this one was really, really cringeworthy. And like I said, go read those articles. But let's jump into that other article as well, which was the 9900K scaling on October 15th. How many cores do you need? And so they went through core scaling. Take a look at this. It's, somewhat interesting. I personally would rather you've seen somebody else go through and do this, right? Are you really so concerned about what Ryzen is doing, AMD is doing with their 12 core and eventually 16 core, that you have to come out with this and try to stem it off where it goes? I understand that some people don't need amazing amount of cores. I get that. But the whole gaming performance here, if I recall, and Ryan Shrout wrote this article, when he was at PC Perspective, he kind of was saying that the core things are going to be increasing over time, and that if he was looking further out, he would lean a little bit also on more cores. So now we just, Intel was a full, hey, all you need is quad core for a lot of period of time, and now it's all you need is 8 core. Well, how often are people upgrading, right? If people have an X amount of money, but they're only upgrading like every 8 years, well, maybe a higher core count there is going to be a better option for them, because they're going to be able to have the opportunity to do more later down the road. I mean, I hear people sometimes say, "Well, I got enough cores. I don't know. I got a Threadripper 1950X, and yeah, I need more cores." But again, I'm a software developer. I run a lot of things in the background, and my computer is constantly being taxed to try to extract the most amount of productivity out of it, right? That's what I'm trying to do, is the productivity for me needs to be great. So when I build a computer for somebody, or somebody asks me to what should they really buy, I actually get a lot of data out of them to show them what kind of relevancy they need to have a productivity of a system work for them, right? And yeah, some of my users, like my parents, they need a quad core with 8 threads, right? That's what they got, and that's makes all the wonders in the world, an amazingly fast computer for them. But they're not gaming. They're checking email. They're, maybe running a couple browsers, have their email up, playing a video, stuff like that. But if I was going to, another one of my friends that likes to play games, he likes to do a lot of other things. He likes to tab out, what happens if you have a browser up, everything else. He likes to do more than just one thing at a time and game. So the more higher thread count is a much more beneficial to. And at what point, if you're a high frame rate gamer, what time do you say that's enough threads because the game uses X amount of threads, and then it just goes there? And who's to say that developers don't increase everything else or increase thread count? Or there's a whole bunch of variables here that could happen within 6 months to a year, or even the life that you have that processor, that all of a sudden makes it more difficult, or core scaling goes differently. And I appreciate where Intel it was coming with this blog, but it was another cringeworthy one where, hey, we're taking a effect at these scaling techniques and what they are going, and then yeah, where are we supposed to go from here? We're taking games, everything from Ashes of Singularity, right? Assassin's Creed, Far Cry 5, Rise of the Tomb Raider, Shadow of War, Hitman, Assassin's Creed Odyssey. So there's Assassin's Creed Origin above. Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, World of Tanks, PUBG, and CS:GO. And granted, that's a spectrum of games out there, but is this all the spectrum of games you tested, Intel, or did you just pick the games that were best for your ability or for your processor, for your core scaling? I would really like to see that, right? The scaling ability of everything that you had tested or even started to test would be great to know than just, hey, if this was a set, great, right? Then I know that you didn't cherry pick anything. But there's just really not that in here. I mean, I could go read through all your footnotes, Intel, but seriously, stop doing everything through footnotes. Kind of put it out there what it actually is. Again, they have the same disclaimer about performance results based upon it may not have reflect all publicly available security updates. What security updates did you have, Intel? Put that out there. What was the Windows version, or if you were testing Linux gaming version that you had? All those things kind of matter and kind of add up. And this is something where either Intel has to improve this whole performance blog, or they got to shut it down. Like I said before, it's cringeworthy. Have fun with it. Yeah, it's something that I hope that companies look at and turn away from. If Nvidia, AMD want to do something like this, they don't do it. Stay away. Put information out there. Let people review your products, compare them, test them, everything else, and just see where they are. If something's really outrageous, maybe kind of say, explain where you're coming from and correct it. But it really just this has to be cleaned up, because like Charlie Denninger, Patrick Kennedy from, Semi-Accurate and Serve the Home, and everybody else kind of on Twitter that was going to and pointing stuff out. Just get to the point and tell where your products can back up what you want, and then don't worry about it, right? Competition is great. I love it. I buy at work, I buy both Intel and AMD. Here I bought, AMD. I don't have, room for, also, or money for 50 or 60 different computers here, or even 5 or 6. But overall, it's just, I kind of buy the best product that's out there for my needs, or I recommend the best product that's out there for those needs. And right now, Intel, you need some work in that areas. Let's go back to the drawing board. Let's get that work done, and let's see what we can do. AMD has had their cringe or bad stuff, and I forgot to do a video on that with the whole video of how PBO works and how the boosting works. That was a whole fiasco for the Ryzen 3000 series. And let's get away from that stuff where it's actually helping consumers and showing consumers some actual things that they can benefit from. Because as much as I like the game, I don't run just one game on my computer when I boot it up. I run a whole bunch of other stuff. And even right now, I have 30 tabs open in one browser. I have multiple browsers open. I got, Visual Studio open, video editing, all that stuff. So the core scaling maybe for one game is great, but then maybe do something else of what real world benchmarks are. Because Intel right now, you're on a kick of real world benchmarks, which is fine, but then start producing what some people in the real world actually use. Even on my Surface, it's got two browsers open, a whole bunch of other stuff, and I only use it as basically as a secondary device to my desktop where it doesn't do a whole bunch of work. So with that, I know I rambled on a little bit, but thanks for sticking with me. Let me know what you guys think of this stuff going on. If there should be some stuff that actually gets cleaned up here, and what would you like to see from these companies in benchmarking? It's got to be something else right now. I'm just so frustrated I can't really get past how just cringeworthy it is right now. So we'll see how this all goes in the future. But I do want to thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for your support of Gray Overload and helping this channel grow. I really appreciate it. I'm still trying to increase the video count here, doing multiple times a week. So this this will be hopefully my second one this week, and hopefully that keeps up to 2 or 3 per week. That's kind of hopefully what the trend is. Trying to finally got my schedule more ironed out. Still got NICU visits, going to the hospital every single day. So hopefully all that turns around here soon, and baby can finally come home. And well, there'll at least be another month or so. So at least. But I do appreciate it. I do want to say God bless and thank you guys for watching. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.